Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and hope you're enjoying your weekend. I'm making this video to give a brief explanation on my new indicator, which is Auto Shot Patterns Ultimate. In this video, we'll go through the components of this indicator and also we'll try to see how we can make use of this indicator to identify trading opportunities. Right, so when you load indicator on the chart, this is what you see. So we have a trade drawings, not trade drawings, the pattern drawings, and then the trade suggestions, which you can see, which tells you what is the range entry, stop, and then the targets. And we have open trade stats, which will give you the same information as here, but it also gives you what is the risk reward and the trading risk reward. And the next part is the close trade stats, which will give you the historical patterns outcome, like how the trade went on for the historical patterns. It will also have information like win ratio and risk reward, then the trading win ratio and trading risk reward, which we'll discuss in a few minutes. And the last one, but not the least, this timer, this the run timer, which tells you how many bars or how many days the backtest is run, right? So that's the start, and then let's get deeper into these components. The chart drawings to start with. So if you look at the chart drawings, the colors are automatically picked for each of them, and it differs from one pattern to other. We can also see that these colors are matched everywhere. For example, this is contracting triangle, I think, or falling wedge contracting, sorry. So it's a falling wedge contracting because only difference is that this trend line is also going down and this is also going down. That's why it is falling wedge. If it is slightly up like this, it would have become a contracting triangle. So this makes it a falling wedge. So that's all. So this is a falling wedge. You can see that this is color coded in green, and similar color you can find it here, falling wedge contracting. And the trade suggestions are also in the same color. And if you look at the stats table, they're also coded in the same color. So this is the pattern number 36, falling wedge contracting, and this is all that's happening. Right, so if you go to settings, you can also select the theme. For example, this colors are suitable for the dark theme, and you can actually select light theme if you are using a light background. So these the colors will change, and this doesn't look pretty good for dark colors because these are all these colors itself are kind of dark colors, so they don't go along well with the dark background. So if you are using a light background, these are more appropriate. For a dark background, the selected colors in the dark theme are more appropriate. And you can also, in this pattern drawings, you can choose few display options. One is show zigzag lines and show pattern label. So I'll just select them now. Let's see what happens. Yep, you see this. To form this pattern, these are the zigzag lines considered, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the zigzag lines considered for the drawing a pattern, and the pattern name is falling wedge, the pattern type is falling wedge, and it's contracting, right? So it's shown for everything. So to make it make the chart a little bit clear, let me disable this show pattern label, but I'll still keep the zigzag lines. And that's because next thing to next things to discuss is number of pivots. Now, if you've seen this has 5 number of pivots to form this pattern: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you look at the other patterns here, it's similar: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's say you want more confirmation and you don't want to settle for just 5, so there's also option for you choose 6 pivots to identify a pattern. This means that you will see less number of patterns, but maybe they are more clear and more formidable patterns. So if I select 6, let's look at this. So all these things are gone, and there are only 2 patterns here, right? So these 2 patterns, you can see they're like have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 pivots each, but rest of the things remain as is. So only thing what it does is it controls how many pivots you see in the and the chart. Okay, so suppress overlap. Suppress overlap means if there's a pattern um, after the pattern, like if there's a pattern which starts from here, then do not detect it because there's already a pattern here. So this is what suppress overlap does. I like to keep this suppress overlap on so that it won't show lots of overlapping patterns, which makes it difficult to decide on which one to choose, which pattern to choose, and where to trade and all. So so right now there are no suppressing, there are no overlapping patterns, so it doesn't make much difference. But you can see there's a difference in numbers. If I disable suppress overlap, it shows 14 patterns, and if I enable this, it will only show 9 patterns, right? And similarly, if I make it 5, it will show 41 patterns. It shows much more patterns than before. So, but why I keep the number of pivots to 5 is that and not suppress overlap or not disable suppress overlap, because even if there are more patterns, that's okay to be there unless there's lots of overlapping. Like, if there's overlapping, that means that we are getting, there's higher chances of getting contradicting signals. That's why I prefer to keep suppress overlap as on. And also notice that suppress overlap will not, reduce the inner patterns. For example, this pattern is there and this pattern, there's a pattern inside this pattern. So it will not remove this one, but it will only avoid showing patterns if it starts here and ends outside. So only those patterns are removed. Okay, so that's about suppress overlap. And then we did show zigzag line, show pattern label, clear old patterns. Okay, so if I disable this, it will show all the patterns which are formed before. Look at this, show all the patterns, which can be a little messy and you don't need that kind of data. But if you still want to see or visualize how many patterns happened in the past and all, you can keep it on. It may also slow down a few things because there are more drawings here. So I prefer to keep it clear and only look at the latest patterns. Okay, so the next point is safe repaint. So this is an interesting one. So the repainting is like, most probably a lot of people ask whether does it repaint. So that's the most common question I get for any of my indicators. But so repainting itself is not bad, but it has to be safer in the sense it should not change our trading decisions by the repaint. So safe repaint here refers to, like, repaint only if we are not entered into the trade. For example, if you look at this, let me do a replay. Go to a replay and let me enable safe repaint. So the safe repaint, if I enable, this pattern is still there, and the entry is reached if it comes to this point, right? So, but let me do one thing. Let me forward one. So what happened is entry didn't reach. Before reaching entry, it actually checks whether the pattern can be extended. So the pattern got extended here because this pivot is still outside, right? If this goes inside, then this will extend. This will not extend. Since this pivot is still outside, there's a room for extension. So it will do the repaint if there's a room for further extension. So I'll do further. So you can still there's some room for extension. So still there is no entry reached. So it is still is the pattern is still expanding. Our pattern is repainting. So it will not repaint when the entry is reached. If the entry is, let's say, if the entry is reached, then yeah, that didn't come actually. So for example, if it goes further down like this, then this will not repaint again because this trend line, if I draw here, let me draw that, it will not touch this pivot. So it will be invalid pivot. And also, if it comes down, once the entry is reached, then it will not repaint. So safe repaint means repaint only if entry is not reached so that it will not affect your trading. But it may increase the accuracy of pattern recognition. Right, so I have kept it disabled for now by default, so I don't need to use it. But if you think you're comfortable with the safe repaint, you can go ahead with this. Okay, and the next settings are pretty simple. The zigzag settings. There again, four different types of zigzags are used. Going forward, we'll try to reduce this because most of the patterns are identified with the five, I think. So the rest of them only contribute very less. So for example, I will disable these three and let's see how many patterns are. See 38. So 38 patterns are identified by five and only three patterns are identified by these three, right? So you can keep it, but I think going forward, I try to improve this algorithm for scanning with the lesser pivots so that we don't have it will the script can run much faster. But right now all four are enabled by default. Right, the number of patterns you can actually enable and disable each patterns individually. So these are the available patterns which the script recognize. So channel types, there's uptrend channel, downtrending channel, and ranging channel. If you look at this is uptrend channel, both are uptrend channel, and this is downtrend channel. So, and if it is flat, there's another setting there which we'll explain later, and it is considered as um, a ranging channel if both the trend lines are flat. And similarly, triangles, they can be expanding or contracting triangle. And I think we do not have a triangle here, it's a wedge. Um, Similarly, we have rising wedge and falling wedge. They both can be contracting and expanding. And indeterminate refers to patterns which cannot be identified, means they are patterns for sure because they join all five pivots. But for some reason, if you are not able to classify it as one of these patterns, then it moves to indeterminate. There may not be many cases, but there are still some I see in some of the examples. So I kept this open, but going forward, as and when we improve further, this option will not be there, and we'll make sure that all the patterns will fall under one of these. Right, and then it's done. Okay, next coming to the channel settings. These are the settings which are actually used for identifying a channel or differentiating a channel from a wedge or triangle, and also whether a channel is a flat or a ranging channel or a rising or falling channel. For example, if you look at this, it's the difference between these are not exactly same. There may be some differences, but this threshold, whatever we have here, it shows what is the threshold. Like maximum to minimum of these distances, it can be of ratio 0.7, it says. So we can reduce it. If we reduce it, you will get less accurate channel signals or channels, and more maybe more even the wedges are marked as channels. That's not ideal. And if you increase it further, it may actually show some of the channels as wedges or triangles. Okay, so the flat channel angle is that if the angle between this angle of these lines, trend lines, if it is below 10, then it's considered as a ranging channel rather than a trending up channel or trending downtrending channel. Okay, so trade reversal, which will come back later because it's about trading. Or maybe we can do that now. Okay, so trade reversal. So usually most of that, what happens is for most of the patterns, the trading is only on the breakout. For example, we create this channel. For example, if you look at this, we create this boundary and we'll trade only if the price breaks out of this box. But for expanding, for example, expanding wedge or expanding triangle, it's not that way. So if there's expanding wedge, I do not have examples now. If there's expanding wedge like this and this, then what we do if you look for a breakout, it will be too big. So what we do is we create the box, or we'll try to trade reversal for such things. So all other patterns will follow breakout, but only this pattern, only the wedge pattern, not wedge, expanding patterns, it will follow reversals, right? All the other patterns will go for a breakout. So let's say if the channel is very large, like here the channels are pretty small, and let's say if the channels are maybe not sure that's gonna work, but let's see. It's already broken down, so it may not work. So if you look at this channel is very big. This channel is quite big. So if you're looking for a breakout, it's like, it's a huge risk. Actually, for this, if you want to set trade here and with the stop loss here, that's going to be huge risk. So one thing we can do is you can reduce the position sizing, and then otherwise the other thing which you can do is trade the reversal for this, so that if this comes down, put a stop loss here and trade down. So you can do it this way, so that you don't have to wait for such a big channel breakout, which may take ages, right? So that's why this option is there, the option to trade reversal. And then yeah, so I don't suggest doing this unless you know that I don't suggest enabling this unless the patterns or the ranges are very big, and there is less risk reward in waiting for the breakout. Okay, so risk reward break even on target one just simply means that when we reach target one, like move the stop loss to entry. When we reach target one, move the stop loss to entry, so that you will at least break even if the trade fails, right? So that's about that. But I keep it disabled because it will cause more failures than success. So I think the probability of target two is pretty high without enabling this feature. So target one multiplier and target two multipliers, they are there for in setting the distance, target distances. It's not used in all cases. It's only used in some cases, and in some cases, like expanding triangles or expanding wedges and all, it actually automatically calculates the target variations, right? And going further down the stats. So stats are like, we have all kinds of stats. If you enable detailed stats, for example, it will show for all patterns the detailed stats. So how many percentage are failed, and since failed patterns are not really a concern, because it just means that the trade entered the other way, right? You see that 66% long failed means 33% short failed. It means that 33% of the trades went on the long side, and 66% went on the short side. So this, we don't need to worry about that, but we need to look at the stopped and the rest of the stats. So stopped means 50% of the trades which entered stopped, and 50% went to target one, and out of which 33 went to target two. And the trailing win ratio is a win ratio of how many targets, how many trades went from target one to target two. That's called trailing win ratio. And trailing risk reward is also similar. Like, what is the risk reward for being in trade at trade one, target one, and waiting for target two to appear, target two to reach. That's trailing target. So trailing target, trailing win rate, and trailing risk reward are only there for target two, because it's only applicable for target two. Right, and that's all about the stats. So overall, this number will always match with this, and look at that. And the rest of them alerts, we already have a new separate video for alerts, which will be similar, and I can explain again. The start time, end time, you can decide on the trading window. And that's all about the video. That's all about this tutorial. Thanks very much.